All right. So, welcome to Coyote Chat number 5. Super excited to have Professor Scott Cameron here today and Ian Seiter. All right on that pronunciation?
Yes, nailed it.
Excellent. I want to do a couple announcements real quick before we get started. First and foremost, for all things student government related, we have this lovely little link tree thing. You can accomplish all the things, learn all the stuff about student government, what we're doing, what we're planning to do, that kind of stuff, all there. We are currently, well, today is the last day to vote for student government leadership in our elections and our faculty and adjunct faculty of the year. Getting a lot of participation so far, so we're really excited. If you haven't done it yet, you can vote with that QR code. On the top left, you're right, we have a survey about today's session. So if you have some feedback you want to tell us about, don't like food, want some different food, we want to hear from a specific person, let us know using that survey. For folks in Zoom, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Wow. So if you're in Zoom, we will have a survey pop up at the end of the sessions today. If you'd be so kind as to answer a couple questions for us, let us know how this event turned out for y'all. And lastly, if you are not registered to vote, we have it's a big election year. If you haven't guessed, 2024, big election year. So if you have not been registered to vote, you can do so using this link over here. And our school is competing against every other school in the state to see how many students we can get registered to vote in the election. As you might guess, young people are underrepresented in our elections, and we want to change that. So if you would like to get registered, here's a great way to do it. And with that, we're going to pass it over to Professor Scott Cameron.
The purpose of the talk was an advertised statement of, okay, you want to give advice in terms of life choices to students when it comes to career choices, educational choices, and also from the perspective of myself as an individual going through the process in the past. So that's the premise of what I'm going to show you. But because I'm very robotic in how I deal with many things in life, it'll be a presentation with a laser pointer and slides and numbers. And I know that's probably why I went into the physical science to begin with, because I am very regimented in my outlook on many things. I try to be logical. So hopefully you might learn something systematic about how to make some life choices today. While I'm stalling for time, do you have any questions so far? It could be individualized questions about myself as a person versus what I'm about to talk about. Anyone know why they're going to college at this point? We have a very biased sample though, because the people here are the ones who are already going to be probably transferring to a 4-year soon. And
Out of here.
yeah,
Another place.
so that's weird because transferring is considered success. So we want you guys to come here and get out as fast as you can. And I'm still waiting for the master control to initiate the countdown sequence. So this will not go into my time. Now my time starts. I was told 20 minutes. When I give a talk on a new topic for the first time, I have a bad time sensing how long things will take. So if you get tired of me talking, look at me with a scowl, or just tell me time's up, and I'll be quiet. So this is the first slide. Every slide has a first slide as sort of a major premise to begin with. Choosing a career. So you want to get a job. Why do you want a job? Because most of your life experience will be working. Here's a pie chart of a normal American if they live to 80. If you live to 80, which is already a hypothesis, you might not. You might live longer, so that's more optimistic. We can go from the beginning of your age, though. About the first 5 years of your age, you're in the preschool years. You're a baby, and you're not quite capable of anything yet. Maybe you actually go to preschool for one of those years, or 2 of those years. That's probably one of the happiest moments of your life. Then you get shoved into the school system. So kindergarten, first grade, all the way to graduation. That's 12 years of your life. Then, this is not true for everyone, but I'm just assuming a 4-year college career after that to get a bachelor's degree in some skill set. Is a bachelor's degree required to get a good job? No, I shouldn't say that because it's not to my benefit, but you can obviously get good jobs without a bachelor's degree, but I'm assuming you're going in that direction. And then at that point, assuming you then work till like age 67 to get your full Social Security benefits, you'll be now working for about 46 years. That's a long time. That's over 50% of your life if you live to 80 at this point. So if you make one big choice in your life, it's probably going to be what career you're going to get, where you're going to work, what field of study you should go into to get a job in that area. Because you could be 46 years of happiness or 46 years of misery, depending on your choice. Then after that, very pessimistically, if you only live to 80 after that, you have maybe 13 years of retirement. A lot of assumptions go into this slide, so I think the big takeaway here is work is going to be a major component of your life. So you need to understand what degree to get and how to work your way in the proper direction to get the job you want. 3 sections, career considerations, my career path, and then your career path. So there's a way of organizing how to think about jobs and your wants and needs in sort of a Venn diagram point of view, like in a math class. I did not invent what I'm about to show you. I give it my own opinions here and there, but I will show you the source at the very end of the lecture. So we can begin with these 4 criteria. What do you like doing? So you're a human being, you have preferences in terms of what you want to spend your time on. This is what makes you happy, hopefully. Or for me, it just makes me content. I don't aim too high. And then you have to say, okay, I also have to consider what I'm good at. So what are you actually good at doing? There are many things in life that you like doing, but maybe you're not good enough to get paid to do it eventually. So I'm only considering things you're good at. If you get a letter A in a class, does that mean you're good at it? True question. No, it just means you got an A in the class. So you can be good at many things and maybe even fail a class here and there. Then the whole point, though, is to get a job eventually. So here's the job part of the Venn diagram. Note things are beginning to overlap. What is a job? It's something that the world needs done. So this is where things outside your control come into play. The world has things that need to be done, and you have no choice in terms of what those things are. And then, not all jobs are created equal. Some jobs pay you very little, some jobs pay you a lot, some jobs pay you somewhere in between. So then you have to consider the 4th piece of the pie, of the Venn diagram. What can you get paid to do those things? At this point, we have 4 of the major things to consider, all overlapping in a Venn diagram pattern. What you like to do, what you're good at doing, what the world needs done, and how much you get paid to do it. Ideally, you'll get a job somewhere in the middle of that diagram where everything is sort of equalized. So you're good at it, you like doing it. The world actually says, I want you to do it, and they pay you something to do it. If you're far off on the perimeter anywhere in this pie chart thing, you're probably going to be in a situation that is not ideal. But doesn't mean you can't be happy, it just means it might not be perfectly balanced. Here are some of my opinions. If you're in the upper left quadrant over here, you like doing it, you're good at it, but there's like no jobs or no pay. So these are more like hobbies and activities, things that you like doing in your spare time because you like doing it. That doesn't mean you can't get a job in that area, just they're going to be very rare. What about in the other quadrant on the upper right? These are enjoyable jobs, but based on the placement, they don't pay you a lot. Enjoyable jobs that don't pay you much. There's no reason you can't go in that area, but if you're trying to maximize living conditions, you might not want that little area. Bottom right quadrant, I call these practical jobs. They exist, numerous, and they pay you a lot, or at least they pay you enough to be comfortable. This is probably where most people are aiming for, just because the jobs exist and they'll pay you a good living wage to do it. Note, you might not be happy though, because over here is your happiness. And you might not even be good at it, let's say. And the last quadrant, this is the territory where you can get jobs that are not numerous, they'll pay you money to do it, and maybe you're good at it. These are like specialist positions. I would even consider like lawyers and doctors in this category. They're not numerous positions, but they obviously do exist and they'll pay you money to do it. At this point, note there are lots of little overlapping positions. The more overlaps, the better, in my opinion. So the only one that overlaps everything, once again, is position 4. And I will say, too, I'll show you at the end of the lecture, the diagram where this is sort of generated from, because this was not my way of visualizing things. Here's my career path in the Venn diagram of options. Not a very exciting life. Let me go back here. So now I will show you my life as a flow through a Venn diagram. Preschool, general school, college bachelor's, college PhD, and then working eventually. It took me a long time to get to the point where I had to work, because I was in school for a very long amount of time. Preschool was my happiest years. That's when I was purely in the happy category of things doing things I like to do. What were they? I like to play with blocks. I like to draw. That was before I was shoved into the outside world of reality. When I went to school, so this is combining like elementary school, middle school, high school, and so this is combining lots of stuff. When you're in school, you begin to learn what you're good at, what you're not good at. And also, it begins to recalibrate what you like doing. Because now you're exposed to new ideas. Maybe you also learn that what you thought you liked doing, you actually don't like doing. So now I'm drifting in this quadrant. I'm still blessedly ignorant of jobs and money at this point. Then I went to college and said, I need a degree. Here's where I made a choice that was probably not logical or practical. I said, I'm going to get a 4 years bachelor's degree in astronomy and astrophysics. I was still in the category of not thinking about pay and jobs. I was just thinking about what am I good at, what do I like doing. There are jobs in this category, but they're not numerous, so probably not a good choice. And then to dig even deeper in the hole of my bad choices, I went further to get that PhD in that area. So now I'm overly educated in an area that has no jobs. And once again, by no jobs, there might be literally maybe 2,000, 3,000 jobs available in the United States that has this little quality of astrophysics PhD. Very competitive and very few and far between. They do pay you money, and it's pretty comfortable if you can get those jobs though. 2 years into my PhD program, the graduate school area of my education, which is like 5 extra years after your bachelor's, I said, 2 years in, I don't want to do this. I don't like doing peer research. I also see ahead that there are no jobs. And they overgraduate maybe 3 times more students than there are jobs available in the field. So they're overpopulating the competition with people who will never get jobs. So then I said, pivot, go to section 4. And I pivot into the classic fail-safe of education. I became a teacher. I said, what kind of teaching do I want to do? I briefly looked into high school education, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. Firstly, because I don't want to deal with people who don't want to be educated. And secondly, you have to go back to school to get a certificate, which is like two more years of education. And I said, no, I'm done with that. So then I said, I have my PhD in astronomy and astrophysics. I want to teach. Let's look at community colleges. When I looked at the entire United States, there was only 12 openings. I applied to all of them. 3 of them said, come for an interview. One of them, Ridgecrest, Cerro Coso, said, I think you're competent enough to work here. And I said, okay, you pay me money, I'll work here. And that's how I ended up here for 13 years. And secretly, if anyone is in a position for 13 years, it means they're probably happy enough to be here. So even if you see me staring at the floor and not smiling, I'm at least happy in my own way. I know though the trajectory, I started here and I tried to work my way there eventually. I didn't even consider the pathway trajectory until the end moment. So if you remember anything from today's conversation, think now about when to pivot and where you're pivoting towards, and your own pathway in the Venn diagram of stuff. So this goes into your career path. This will be shorter because I can't really dictate how you will live your life. I don't want to do that. But basically, I'm claiming you're already at the point of preschool's done, school's done, college, you're still in the moments of college right now. So you're probably starting in the like and the good at categories already. You're probably already in those categories. Some of you have already thought about jobs and pay and quality of life when you graduate with your profession. Maybe you haven't done so yet, so maybe these are still unknown territories off the map where you don't know where the navigation's going. My suggestion, think of it now as a part-time job. Over the summer, think about all career options, things that you want to do. Study and get a database of things you want to do. Not only things you want to do, but things that exist, things that will pay you money to do it. So do the jobs exist? Do they pay you money? I can't tell you how to go about that other than research. If you go online, you can find lots of databases on jobs, data in terms of how many jobs in that category exist, the pay distribution, like the minimum, maximum, average pays in that area. So the one I like to refer students to is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Occupational Outlook Handbook. It breaks down into pretty much every category of job you can think of, and it gives you a database in a very short, little brief overview of all the things you need to know about your job choice, your career choice. For example, if I click on the occupational one and go to the astronomy, astrophysics, which is in the physical science category, you eventually get to hear physicists and astronomers. Then it goes into a summary, just brief overview of things in the field, numerical values of jobs in the field, how much they pay in a very brief sense. If you want to know more about what they do, it goes into more like a day-to-day of operation. What do you do in your field? Maybe you thought the job is doing something, but it's actually not doing that. For example, astronomy astrophysics is a glorified sit in front of a computer and do data analysis. I don't want to do data analysis all day. That's not fun. I didn't know that until I was in grad school. So make sure you're going in the area you think you're going into. Work environment, this is similar to in terms of the quality of the work environments. This is, once again, just a brief overview of the format of the website. How to become that career, the educational process you need to go through, the characteristic degrees you need. The pay, this is because I'm very numerical. This is what I should have looked at a long time ago too. Maybe the jobs exist, but do they actually pay you money, a living wage to do it? So definitely look at the pay distribution for your area of interest. Job outlook, not only how many jobs exist now, but how many jobs are projected to exist in the future. Your generation is in a weird situation with the AI generative software packages that could steal jobs. I'm not sure how to predict very far ahead in time at this point in terms of the number of jobs available in each field. Also, where do the jobs exist? Some states dominate the field, some states have almost no jobs in the field. So you might have to move across the country just to get a job in your field, depending on what you choose. Or throughout the world too, because a lot of jobs are pure international as opposed to US-centered. Also, similar occupation, maybe you need to do a pivot. How do you pivot? What areas of expertise are closely related to your area of expertise? This is what I did late in the game. I said, I need a pivot. I said education. I like teaching, I like learning, so maybe someone else listen to me with a laser pointer all day. And the last category, just more information. Every field usually has like unions and associations, professional societies in the field. They have even more information about recommendations and even mentorship possibilities. And I think the best way of getting a sense of careers is to ask people in the field now, what are their opinions? That involves taking some risk on your part, though, to do a cold call or email people directly and just be very pleasant to them. It turns out most people like talking about themselves. So if you show interest in them as a human and their life choices, they'll probably talk to you eventually. Also, good advice, don't take a first no for an answer. Keep bothering them. Give them at least two chances to say no to you. A lot of people like persistence. It shows some sort of interest more than just an average interest level. So that was my overview. If you remember anything, think of your placement in that diagram right now, the Venn diagram. and think of ways of getting to the center of the diagram. So you're probably least knowledgeable of your job field and in the pay quality. If you are a normal functioning person in early college situation. And I mentioned the organization was not my invention. This is pretty famous within job discussion, professional discussions, what you love doing, what you're good at, what the needs are of the world, what you can get paid to do. And they break it down into further overlapping qualities of things. I'm not going to go into the details. They claim it's from a Japanese concept. If I'm pretending to pronounce Japanese here, it's ikigai. And if you're in the middle, you have achieved bliss in the sense of Western reinterpretation of Japanese ideas, which are probably not true anyways. But it is definitely not my idea. It is definitely a good way of mental mapping, though. So now that you've heard me talk about a lot of things, hopefully if you walk away today, you will be slightly concerned about your life choices so that you will begin thinking about them from a strategic point of view instead of just an idealistic point of view. Over the summer, treat your future self as your most important person to worry about. Meaning, research all the jobs you want to do and see if they're actually good choices. I can't tell you what is good, though. You have to interpret that on your own. Questions? I don't know what time I just exhausted your life with. All I know is I was given 20 minutes. It might be 20 now or it's over 20. Any questions? So I strategically skipped over me as a human being in most of this conversation. Some of your questions could be about me, or it could be more general robotic questions about strategy choices. Most likely, most of you here are probably already accepted to some transfer colleges, because if you are students volunteering to sit through more lectures, just for the sake of more lectures, you're probably pretty academically inclined people who enjoy education. If you have not transferred to a 4-year yet, meaning you haven't got accepted anywhere, don't think about jobs right now. Think about where you're going to go to for your transfer university or college. That is your next choice. So over the summer, begin thinking about where to apply. If you grow up in California, you don't realize how privileged you are with lots of high quality, internationally recognized universities and colleges. If you're in a normal sized state in the United States, you might have one good college or one good university, or maybe two. And if you want that in-state tuition, you don't have many choices. You just apply to the only one available, basically. And does that mean community colleges don't have a role to play? Obviously, I'm talking to a biased data set. You guys are in community college. Why? Because the first 2 years of your college experience are remarkably similar no matter where you go. Whether it's a high-quality UC or a CSU or a community college, the first 2 years are pretty much the same. Only difference is that the lecture environment you'll be in, you'll be in very manageable group situations of 20 to 30 people as opposed to 300 people in a lecture hall. Imagine this room here, but multiply it by, 6, and have one instructor standing over here with a laser pointer talking to you. And maybe you talk to that person one time a semester. Yeah.
Where did you go to college and how did you decide?
I went to the University of Michigan. Why? Because I grew up in Michigan. I said, what's the best place in Michigan to go to? University of Michigan. And like I said, universities and colleges are so standardized, it doesn't really matter where you go to get your degree. It's the same education. Only difference is the people you surround yourself with will be different subsets of humans. If you go to a very prestigious place, you're going to be surrounded with a lot of type A personality, very much perfectionist people. You want to? It's up to you. If you go to a more middle, quote-unquote, recognized place, it's going to be a more realistic distribution of humans. You're going to have people who enjoy having fun, people who enjoy studying, everything in between. Also, the quality of life where you go. Some cities are more expensive to live in than other cities. Why? Because some cities are better quality of life experiences. Some cities are more boring. So it's not only the college or university you apply to. It's also about the environment that you'll be sticking yourself in for the next 2 years to 3 years of your life. You have more choices than I do. Technically, I didn't have to go to University of Michigan. I could have went outside the state. But if you go outside your state, then you pay out state tuition, which is much more expensive. Questions? Yeah. This is the thing that I am most privileged about. I didn't have to work. My parents said, you seem like a studious person. We'll keep paying to go to college. And also, if you go into a physical science, the US government wants American scientists to pay you stipends, and they'll pay your tuition if you do like teaching experience, if you do some guest teaching, if you do some research. And that's when I was first shoved into a teaching environment, because I had to get some sort of work done to get my tuition paid for, and I chose a lot of teaching. That's when I had to try to develop a personality. I didn't develop a personality until I had to start teaching. I can't claim this is a good personality, but it's something. At this point, I have no perception of time either.
Question in Zoom.
Yeah.
What is the best way to connect with people at university?
You have to be willing to take risks, meaning you can't sit quietly in the back of the room not having eye contact with anyone. You have to be willing to feel dumb in the moment. The best way I go about that in life, I realize everyone else around you, they're not paying attention to you. They're paying attention to themselves or their cell phone. So when you think you're making a big dramatic statement by just talking to someone, no one else is paying attention to you. It's not as big of a deal as you think it is. So talking to people, and that person could be a colleague, a peer, or even someone instructing you or someone working in the field. Most people appreciate you talking to them if it's something that's related to what they like doing. So talk to your instructors who you think might give you good advice. Talk to random people working in the field. That's much harder to do. You have to do some legwork to do some research to figure out who those individuals are. But even if your fail rate is 60% of people don't respond to you, you'll get at least a few people who are willing to talk to you. Remember, though, they're biased too, because they're working in a field that you think is good. They might just tell you it's good because they like it. You don't know about the people who failed out or just quit. So maybe even talk to people slightly related to your field. Better yet, in a university situation, you can actually do like internships where you basically volunteer time, work in the environment that you think you want to work in, and get a sense, do you even like it? It also is good networking too. And if you're lucky, you might get a little stipend money for it. I will say, though, there is no optimal way of living a life. No matter who you ask, they're gonna tell you, I made some bad choices. So, I'm pretending as if this is a logical progression of ideas. Most likely, you're just gonna muddle your way through like everyone else, hit some optimal position that you think is good enough, and settle down. Is anyone going to walk out of here happier today or sadder today? The reason I'm stressing these ideas, because A, it's sort of my personality, and B, in high school, they just tell you go to college as if it's a magic step that's going to make you happy in life. Question?
You keep mentioning, or I guess emphasizing practicality over idealism.
Yeah. That is my bias. Okay. So remember, anything I tell you today, treat me as a biased source of information too.
So what role does idealism play?
I would say the younger you are, the more idealism is going to be high up in your ranking system. The older you are, when you begin paying bills and taxes, you say, I need to be more self-centered in my payment system. Do I go to sleep at night and have good dreams of how good of a person I am? Or do I go to sleep at night saying, I don't have to worry about paying the rent this week? To be fair though, you can optimize both. You can get jobs that pay you money, that exist, that are also idealistic in your point of view. You just have to be very strategic in terms of how you find those jobs. The most important class, or the class they don't actually have, is called Researching Your Future Life. What jobs do you want? What education you need to get there? That class doesn't exist though. They just say keep taking classes until you're done. That is my way of closing every talk.
Guys, give it up for Professor Scott Cameron.
And if you want more cynical advice, you can always ask me later too.
Alright, guys, and for our new speaker, Ian Seiter from Outreach Services. Give him a hand.
Oh, Scott, that was wonderfully dark, and I very much appreciate it. There's gonna be a lot of crossover with what Scott said. Mine's gonna be a little bit more on the personal side. There's no right way to do this. That's pretty much what we want you guys to take away from this. You're gonna be co-creators in your own existence, right? With the external factors that are kind of gonna push against you, but it's up to you guys to kind of figure out who you are and what you want to be, right? What was that Japanese term, Scott?
Ikigai.
Ikigai. It's kind of very much what I'm a champion of. Didn't know that was a word, but it's basically the philosophy of like find your own bliss, right? Nothing is promised, guys. There's no promise of an afterlife, right? I don't know what the hell is gonna happen when I die. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. And I've lived long enough to know that like I can't depend on or plan for what's gonna happen tomorrow, let alone 5 years or that not so promised retirement of 13 years, right? I'll probably never get to touch my Social Security, right? Because of the life choices I've made. I don't think I'm gonna live to 80, 84, much to my wife's chagrin, who says I have to live to over 100. The key is find joy in the little things, right? So, yes, I work in outreach services now, but that's my paycheck. It's also something I'm very passionate about, something I very much enjoy, if you remember the Venn diagram. But that's not what I'm trained in. I'm actually a trained writer. I went to school for creative writing. The writer in me wants to start like in media res and tell this as like a narrative, but if I know myself well enough, my writing, it's very hard for me to get to the end. So if I structure this talk with you guys like I do my novel, I may not finish. So I'm gonna do the non-literary thing. I'm gonna be very linear and tell you about my path from birth. Yeah, I probably won't go that far. But talk about my experience with education and how I got to this career in higher education, which I never expected. Okay? So, yes, I'm Ian, I work in outreach services. Guess what? I hate school. Take that with you. I always hated school. It was not in my plan to ever go do anything in education, ever. I was a hockey player, and I was fucking good at it. Right? So I knew from a very early age, I told you I was gonna drop an F-bomb. That was actually accidental. But I was very good at it, and I'm gonna say some things that are gonna sound braggadocious, but it's very much just give you context about my experience and my path. I never thought that I was not gonna be a professional hockey player. So I went through my whole life with that as my sole ambition. I was gonna do this, and that's how I was gonna get to go to college or go pro. Everything else would kind of fall in line, right? What happens when you make plans? God or whoever laughs at you, right? Don't make plans, right? Because guess what? I was very, very fortunate to travel all over the world for hockey. I got recruited to go play at some of the greatest prep schools in North America. Ended up not having good enough grades because I didn't prioritize my education. So my family couldn't afford the $40,000 tuition a year at places like Exeter and Lawrence Academy and all that stuff. So I had to go a different route, right? So again, with the sole mind of C's get degrees in high school, I went the junior route, and I was able to go play junior hockey in Canada. Then life happened. 17 years old, I got my 4th major concussion and had a brain bleed. Basically had a doctor tell me, if you do this again, and you take a hit like that, it could potentially be brain damage for the rest of your life. So at 17, I had what a medium psychic once told me as a death in a former life experience, right? At 17 years old, I technically died, right? My whole identity was shattered. I had to take on that decision of who am I? Now what? Right? No plans for that. So, like you guys are how old now? Yeah, you're around the same age, right? I now decide, what am I gonna do with the rest of my life, right? I tried to do the most self-destructive things possible. I just was just very lost and depressed, having to reconcile what just happened with my life and my experiences. I did a lot of very, very stupid things, right? But I was trying things. Even though they're stupid, I did a lot of really good things too, but even though they're stupid, to just try things, right? And this is very much important for you guys for different reasons. Try everything, say yes to things more than you say no, right? Scott was talking about, he answered that question, how do you connect with people on campuses? Just try things. Like I said, everybody is going through this little experience in their own way, very much self-directed and self-centered. Don't be afraid to interrupt them, right? Say hi to people, try to engage, right? So I was trying so many different things. I had to find this outlet that I can express myself, so I started forming bands. I played music. I wish I had a slide. I could show you some pictures of emo Ian from that generation. I graduated in 2001, so it was very much in the heat of the whole post-hardcore movement, right? You've seen that photo. Lovely. That was just more of a hobby thing, right? But it gave me an outlet, and it was through that. Meanwhile, I was also going to school because I was always told, we are the promised generation, right? We're like, you gotta do this, and your future is promised. Money is promised. Money is the easiest thing to find, guys. Don't chase it, right? Don't chase it. Find something you actually are passionate about, something that you care about. Much in contradiction to the Venn diagram. If you could find those things that you're passionate about, but also bring you, a paycheck that you can live comfortably, that's great. But again, the easiest thing in the world is to find money, right? So I lean on more the side of find the thing that's gonna bring you the most happiness in this initial 5 inches in front of your face, right? That's all you can really see. Everything else is kind of blurry and it's way over there, right? But we've joked about this in orientations and stuff. I changed my major like 30 times. I went to every single community college there is in San Diego where I grew up. Every single one. I have transcripts from every single one. When I had to send them here, I had to contact all of those community colleges again and have them forwarded. Pain in the ass. So if you can, limit how many you go to, please do, right? But meanwhile, I was just going through the motions. I was told this is what I was supposed to do, right? I was told I had to go to college. If I wanted a future, if I wanted to make money, I had to get a degree. It's not true, guys. You guys are fortunate. You're here. You're in college. That's great. And you're finding success. That's fantastic. This isn't the only way, though. There's no one way, right? Just like there's no one single destination we're all going towards, there's no right or wrong way to get there. And you guys define what that destination is, right? What I hope to instill in you guys with this little talk is that, yes, there's no right or wrong way, but there are things you can do to help you find the most success and hopefully find the most joy in your journey, okay? So throughout that process of trying to figure out who the hell I was, stopped doing bands, I started writing. And I really started to find like an outlet for what was going on in my mind that I wasn't able to share with like my parents. Even my closest friends never really knew like what I was really going through internally. But I used that outlet of writing to kind of reconcile what's going on and kind of find meaning again. Kind of started to fill that little hole that hockey had left. And I started to redefine who I was as a human being, which is something you guys are going to be doing for the rest of your lives. You're not going to be the same person you are today that you are maybe in 5 years. Like who here is doing exactly what they thought they were doing when they were a kid, maybe their happiest days of their life in preschool? What'd you want to be when you were a kid? You don't know? Does anybody have any idea or any memory of what they wanted to be when they were a kid? What is it? Artist. Are you an artist right now? See, there you go. But it's not too late though, right? In 5 years, you might be an artist again. It's not concrete. You can constantly just do whatever the hell you want. That's what people think about life, is you just do whatever the hell you want. Because guess what? What's my philosophy in outreach? Nothing matters. No one cares. Number 3, all gonna die. Right? Very, very dark. Very, very dark. But it's so true. It's kind of freeing, right? Nothing matters. No one cares. We're all gonna die. Just do what's best for you. As long as it's not hurting anybody, find your bliss. Right? So I started getting good at writing. I keep a couple talismans with me everywhere I go, everywhere I've moved. I'm going to them here. I started going to San Diego State. I was finally able to transfer into a four-year after my many, many years from 2001 to, I believe, 2009 of going to community college. All right, it's about 9 years of community college. I surpassed the 7-year mark that is traditionally what people typically take to finish their associate's degree. It's daunting, right? It's kind of scary. But I finally figured out what I wanted to do, so now I was able to okay, I don't want to do business. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I want to write. Let's go get an English degree. Like you, I chose a career path, an educational path, that doesn't get you a job, that doesn't make you any money. All my student loans, I don't regret a damn thing about it, right? Because that brings me joy. Right, so I finally got to go to San Diego State, and that question, how do you connect with people on campus? Like you said, connect with those professors, right? I found a mentor in David Matlin, great, great writer, ran the MFA program at San Diego State. That really kind of showed me that what I was doing well. There was room for a ton of growth to get better at writing, because you can't really teach writing, right? You have to just read books and learn how to do it by your own voice. But as someone who believed in me, I was able to find that momentum again. And I realized that I found what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to write. I wanted to work in that creative space, right? From there, I started figuring out, okay, how do I become a writer? Again, not something you have to do, but I champion the idea of going into an MFA program. So I was able to benefit from that support to start exploring where I wanted to go to grad school. My dad is from New York, Queens, so we grew up visiting New York often. So I always had this romanticized perception of Ian Seiter, the writer, living in New York, right? Just so happened the only program I wanted to get into was in Manhattan, the MFA program at Hunter Cooney. You mentioned something about embrace those failures. Don't just take that first initial no, which I keep on me all the time. Hunter is a very, very elite and exclusive MFA program. Here's my first denial. I got rejected twice to get in that program because they only accept 6 people a year. But eventually, I got it. So I took the chance. I moved to New York so I can get that in-state tuition. That's the right way to do it, right? That's one thing you can't take away. If you're going to go out of state, move there first, live there for a year, get that in-state tuition, if you're going to do it. And through that, I was able to find some amazing mentors and some great, great writers, very, very established, wonderful artists. But the biggest thing was connecting with those students. And that's something I would highly suggest you guys do, find your people. Like I see a lot of you guys hanging out with the same people, which is great. Were you friends before Cerro Coso? See, that's fantastic. The college experience, it's so much more enriching if you have that experience outside the classroom as well. Even when we have awesome teachers like Professor Cameron, who make those in-class experiences rich and fulfilling. It's all about connecting with people outside of class as well. I run the Promise program. One of the biggest things I try to champion more than anything else is have a life outside of class, right? It's proven, right? If you have a life in the community, on campus, you're gonna be a better student.
Well, I didn't know. I don't be.
What's up? Hey. It's all about that balance, right? And you're gonna see that once you guys enter your professional careers as well. Yes, work hard, but you also have to have that life outside of that as well. Otherwise, your whole life's gonna be out of balance, right? Because it's very, very rare that you're gonna be in that category where you have the full crossover, where you're doing what you love, what you're good at, what's the actual job that is needed, and that they're gonna pay you for, right? So, the cool thing was I found lifelong friends in my cohort of MFA students in New York at Cooney. So I still have those people to lean on. So one thing I can suggest to you guys is along the way when you find those failures, because you're gonna find them, if you're actually taking the chances to try to become something, to define yourself, you're gonna run into failures, right? And that's okay. You have to redefine your relationship to failure, right? Beckett always writes, fail, try again, fail better, right? So, like I said, I keep my talisman. I keep these as reminders every day, and reminders and talisman can come in different forms. I have my rejection letter, I have my first published thing. You guys cannot read this, it's no. But I also keep a little page from David Matlin, my first supporter in my writing. This little inscription here about this last thing that I submitted to him in his writing class. And very, very flowery, it's very great. But the biggest thing that it says on there is don't stop, writing. You guys may not be writers, but it's a philosophy that you guys can keep with yourselves. So don't stop. Keep redefining yourselves. Keep trying new things. Keep connecting, and keep trying to find that bliss because it's not promised, right? That's all I got, guys. Do we have any questions? All right, thank you guys.
We're really excited to do these things, and we're looking for more input. If you guys have the time, you can fill out a little survey up there. Let us know who do you want to hear from next, so we can, fill their inboxes and tell them that that students want to hear from them. So, if you have suggestions, if you have prompts that you want to share with us, let us know what you want our faculty or our staff to talk about next. Share that with us as well. Okay. That's it. If you haven't voted yet, vote. Okay, there we go. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.